Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RAMP, Real Access Motivates Progress, live Wednesday night podcast. We are on our 102nd episode. Can you believe we've been around that long? But we always have interesting shows and interesting organizations to bring you, and tonight is no different. Actually, tonight is a very dear friend of mine. You would think that we have known each other for 30 plus years, but it's only been a couple of times, and we have never seen anybody actually in person. So we hope to remedy that very soonly. But we are talking Caregivers Month, highlighting kid caregivers. So welcome my guests, Erin and Nadine, to the show. I am so thankful you guys are with us tonight. Thank you very much for taking the time tonight.
We are thrilled to be here, Tina. Thank you.
Thank
So
you so much for
we are
having
gonna
us.
I'm so excited about this. Nadine, we are going to start with you, my dear friend, who I haven't met in person, but I swear we can finish each other's sentences at this point. So, Nadine, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I am Nadine Roberts Cornish. I am founder of the Caregivers Guardian, a support services organization that has been meeting the needs of family caregivers across the country for the past 13 years now. And we meet caregivers where they are on the journey and make sure that the emphasis is placed on the caregiver, because it's really important that the caregiver takes care of themselves in the process of caring for someone else. And so that 13-year journey has afforded me the opportunity to author 2 books, Tears in My Gumbo, The Caregiver's Recipe for Resilience, and Prayers in My Gumbo, The Caregiver's Recipe for Peace. And we have recipes in my gumbo currently under construction, and we look forward to having that debut next fall. And so the work that I do, like so many people listening in, the work that I do, it chose me. I didn't choose it, but it is absolutely my life's work, making a difference, educating, training, and supporting family caregivers is what I was placed here to do after my 15-year caregiving journey with my mother ended. I took a year off, and it was very, very clear and very evident that the work that I was destined to do was to support family caregivers. And it's my honor to do that. And if I did not do that, if I were not doing that, I would not have had the opportunity to meet the amazing Tina, and she would not have been a part of my life over these last almost 3 years now, Tina. The clock's ticking. And it's been a great association. It's one of the upsides to the pandemic, the fact that we have been able to develop relationships via Zoom, via the phone, right? Virtual relationships that probably never would have happened were it not for this pandemic we have all been an integral part of.
Well, anybody listening to you knows exactly why me and you are kindred spirits and souls, because I was born to do what I do. I was put in this wheelchair to help others, and it is my path and is one I embrace very much. And just in case you don't realize, Nadine and Erin are in Colorado, and we are over here in Rhode Island. So we span the country when we talk to amazing organizations. So now let's meet our second guest. Erin, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Oh, thanks so much. So I am Erin Myrens. I am out here in Colorado. I am with Colorado Respite Coalition. We are a program of Easter Seals Colorado. So one of the many programs they have. The mission of Easter Seals is to foster a more inclusive Colorado with programs and supports with people for people with disabilities. Excuse me. And so the mission of Colorado Respite Coalition is a lot more specific to caregivers. So we are strengthening Colorado's statewide lifespan respite care resource network for family caregivers and professionals. Colorado Respite Coalition does a lot of different things. We've been around since 2003. And so we support caregivers of all ages and care needs. and caregivers who are supporting individuals across the lifespan as well. And we help families and professionals connect with respite care and caregiving resources. We offer training and education for caregivers. We also offer respite grants, and we're actually gearing up this weekend to host a respite weekend for family caregivers. So we actually have a group of about 10 families are able to come up and join us at the Easter Seals camp up in Empire, Colorado. It's a fully ADA accessible camp that allows us to take some families up there and give them some much needed respite. And we even, of course, bake in some education and some other things in there, but, it's mostly a chance just for the families to come up and take a break even together. And we're actually going to host Nadine as well, who's going to be doing a great session with the siblings of some of our kiddos that are going to be at the camp who have disabilities. So, also part of that acknowledging, people of all ages across the lifespan who serve in caregiving roles and providing them with tools and resources, to live and thrive and support the people they care for. So, just strengthening that network of caregiving resources. I hope
That
that,
sounds amazing, and
yeah.
and thank you. I really need to get down there because I wanna go check out this camp and everything that you guys do down there, so that is one of my bucket list items, but I like to, bring it down and not expect my viewers to know everything that we're talking about, and you use the word respite a lot. Can you please explain what respite is for those who may not realize that that's what it's called or what that word actually means?
Oh gosh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's a great question. We get asked that all the time. So it's a break for the caregiver. We even go as far as to define it sometimes as they should be able to like leave the place where they're caregiving. Whether that means like going to the grocery store, you going to pick up medication, or just taking a break. And so that is what respite is a break for a caregiver.
And that is so important because if the caregiver is tired and worn out and not taking care of their own health, Nadine, I know you are a champion for this, that they cannot care for who they're caring for. You have to put yourself first. It is not wrong. It is not, something selfish that you're doing because if you're not taking care of yourself, you cannot take care of anyone else. Nadine, why is that so important? Because you explain this so beautifully.
So, what I'd like to say is that putting yourself first is not natural in our society. And so, because it isn't natural, it's not the default. The default is always, oh my goodness, I have this responsibility. Let me take care of the kids. Let me take care of my spouse. Let me take care of my loved one, whoever it is that is in need. And so, it's not natural that we think about, wait, before I do that, have I taken care of me? Have I addressed my own personal needs? During my personal caregiving journey with my mom, there would be times when I would make sure my mother had the most beautiful, well balanced meal. And I would think about it would be 3 o'clock in the day. She will have eaten twice and had a snack. And I would not have eaten one single thing because I was so busy doing. I was so busy as the caregiver, making sure that all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. And I had made all the phone calls and I had made sure all of her needs were met, but not giving a second thought to the idea that my own personal needs had to be met first in order for me to be well, healthy, and in harmony as a caregiver to my mom. And so I found that to be very much the case with so many of the caregivers that I've worked with across the country, Tina. And it is the theme, and you and I talk about it often. Self-care, it's non-negotiable. It has to be non-negotiable. It has to become natural to think about yourself, to put yourself first and foremost so that you have the energy, the inclination, the heart, and the ability to look after everybody else that will need care and will need your support.
Absolutely, you're 100% correct on that, and I call myself a self-caregiver because I am my own caregiver. I have to take care of myself, so I literally have to balance what I need to make sure that I'm okay and, my spinal cord injury is taken care of, my wheelchair is taken care of, my day-to-day health with that, but I also have to make sure that I'm taking care of me as mentally. It is so important, and that's why our topic tonight is so important to us because it's something people don't think about. Erin, tell us a little bit about the kid caregiver and why that is so important.
Right. So, excuse me, it's a new area we're exploring. So, yeah, like Nadine said so beautifully, respite care and a break for the caregiver allows them to provide better care for their loved one. And, the thing that I think is important about recognizing kiddos as caregivers is, um, and Nadine said it again, about not eating your meals, like how you're spending your time. I think it's so important for caregivers to acknowledge how they're spending their time and making sure that, obviously there are an endless number of things they're responsible for, but they naturally, throughout a day, make sure those things are taken care of. But then those extra, things that come about, like a kid needs to go to school and has all of these other things they need to do and all these other priorities, but they also can't, neglect these caregiving duties. So, I think just acknowledging what they're doing, not only identifying them as caregivers, but saying, okay, here's what that means. This means this is how you're spending your time. That not only are you going to school and having to meet those demands, but you're coming home and there's more stuff for you to do. And it's the beginning of a very important and necessary conversation.
Right. And if
Yeah.
I can jump in here,
Oh,
Tina,
absolutely.
just to piggyback on what Erin is saying, we know that it's been estimated by AARP that there are 5.1 million kids providing caregiving support services within the home. But what's interesting is that we don't really have a mechanism to really count the kids, right? And when we think
Right.
about it, and I had a kid say to me, because I've had the honor of doing interviews and focus groups with kids over this last month specifically, and really as an opportunity to have their voices heard and to see what their needs are from their perspective. And so one of the kids said to me, "You guys act like this is brand new. Don't be brand new with this. Kids have been supporting their families forever and a day, right?" And I was so stunned. And so he was so right when he said that,
Yeah.
because they have, and we just haven't acknowledged them. And so it is it really is become a mission for me over the past year when a 10-year-old hopped on one of our support group calls that we hold every Monday at 12 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. We've got the information in the chat for anybody who's listening in that would like to join us. But we hold these weekly support group calls for caregivers, and caregivers across the country hop on for an hour to get the support that they need. And I always say it's not a venting session. It is really an opportunity to transform and to really grow as a caregiver, right? And so last year, this 10-year-old hops on and he says hi because his grandmother's a part of the group. And he said, "This is cool. What do you do for kids?" And it was crickets. I was mortified when he asked that question. It had never dawned on me that we ought to be doing something for kids. And so that little guy sparked the flame that's emerging at this point around our insistence that when we talk about caregivers, that we remember the children, that we remember the kids who are caregiving too. And so I was really committed, and I'm so grateful that Colorado Respite Coalition is on board with us, supporting the efforts on a systemic level so that we can start to affect policy around this very issue. And so we're excited that for the first time, in the state of Colorado, and for the third time in this country, we're going to be one of the few states, unfortunately, asking the question directly to youth between eighth grade and 12th. We're asking them specifically the question about their caregiving responsibilities in the home. And this is the first time this is ever being asked. So we're really excited for the possibilities and for the data that we're going to be able to obtain. Florida and Rhode Island are actually the two states. That's right. Rhode Island is the second state in the country to actually survey kids. And percentage wise, it's like 26% of the kids who participated. And I
Yep.
believe the study was 10,000. 26% of those kids identified as caregivers, having caregiving responsibilities within the home or family.
It's so true. I mean, with all of my cancer diagnosis and my paralysis, my kids became caregivers at like 8 and 12,
Mhm.
and they had a lot of responsibility because I was trying to learn how to navigate the world differently. And as a single mom at the time, having to learn how to still take care of my kids, be involved with my kids and everything that they did at the same time. And learning all together. And it's true, you forget that they're kids, you forget that they want to be their own thing, and trying to find that balance, we lose it because we just kind of depend on them. So to define that balance, it's so important to think about the responsibilities that we're putting on children at this time. And I mean, in one sense, it's good because, as Nadine always says, there's always four things you're going to be in this life, and caregiving is always included in that. So they learn early, but not, you don't want to give them too much responsibility too fast, or at least give them the support that they need. Erin, I'm
Mhm.
sure you have something to add to that.
Yeah, only that I couldn't agree more because, it is, I think, it's not about, I don't know, sympathy. It's about empowering them. I think that they are going to, and that's why there are studies that show it's important for people to stay in the home and be surrounded by family. And there's so much they can learn and so many strengths they gain through doing it, but then making sure they're aware of that and that's special and that's unique. And yeah, it's about empowerment. So
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, my son went into the paramedic field from taking care of me. He wanted to learn more. He wanted to know more of what was going on. And, now he's furthering that. So it's true. It could be lifelong goals, like Nadine said, and I do. It's something we have to do. And, sometimes it's built into the kids young. But Nadine, I want you to tell everybody your four outlooks on life of what you're going to become, because I think it's such uh, something everybody needs to hear.
So I've got to give the credit where the credit is due. It's actually Rosalind Carter's quote. There are only four kinds of people in the world: those who have been a caregiver, those who are a caregiver, those who will be a caregiver, and those who will need a caregiver. So sooner or later, we are all going to be impacted. I think it's really important for our kids to be prepared for this reality because they are inheriting the oldest generation of elders that the world has ever seen. And I'm not sure that our generation has done a great enough job, a sufficient enough job to prepare the infrastructure for that and prepare for the reality of that. And so it's our kids who are really going to deal with the burden and the responsibility of an aging population. The aging population is happening every day. 10,000 people are turning 65 years of age. And that's going to continue for another 4 to 5 years. And so we have got to, as a society, be cognizant of the fact that we must prepare this younger generation for the realities that they're going to be contending with. And the kids that I've had a chance to interview over this past month, they all are more empathetic, they're more mature, they are more caring than the average kid because of their responsibility. They're also far less judgmental. because they realize people don't know what I'm going through, so I don't know what other people are going through. And so they have a level of empathy and maturity that really is outstanding. I'll also say that 50% of those children interviewed have all stated that they want to go into the medical field in some form or capacity because they recognize the need, and it's been sparked inside of them because of the responsibilities they have at home.
Yeah, I mean, it is so true. You know what I mean? And I believe having that responsibility at a young age, I think it's good for the kids. Don't let them shy away from helping grandma or helping auntie or helping somebody. Don't let them shy away from helping somebody who's disabled that they may or may not know.
Exactly.
Let them have, because I know when I go into the schools and I talk to the kids about disability, they ask questions when their parents aren't around to shush them. They get to
Exactly.
have real answers and real conversations.
Mhm.
And when I see them out and about in public, they're more open. They're more open to more people. And their parents thank me that they got to meet me and they got to get the fear out and they got to know it. It's the same thing with caregiving. We need to put the information out there and stop shying our kids away from it, because again, they're going to be in one of the roles at some point. That
Mhm.
teaching them little by little and guiding them into that is a lot better than, like my kids were like, here it is, mom's now paralyzed, like this is your new life now. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, I wish I was able to prepare them earlier. So now I know, and now I want to help other families not end up in that role. Erin, what are some of the things that you get the families prepared for?
Well, I was actually just thinking about how great like the work that Nadine and those groups are doing, because it's helping the kids build what supports they need. Because yeah, we are still doing some of that work also. So to answer your question, some things that we do are well, basically we help fill the gap. And there are supports out there. As in Colorado, I know it works differently in different states, but we have layers of support, like systemic support, that can help across the state, the AAAs, the area agencies on aging. But then for families and younger kids, the community centered boards have resources, and we can help connect them to that. But then our programs at the Colorado Respite Coalition are designed to help fill some of those gaps. So folks that aren't receiving respite care, either funding, if it is money to get respite care, or to learn as a caregiver how to get compensated for the care that you're already doing. So anything that's available to you as a caregiver that can support you, we want to help connect you to it. And then if it's working in one area, we also have these regional coalitions that is how we plan to disperse information, find find what's working, and then figure out how to make it work in other places. So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. Nadine, what is Caregivers Month? How are you highlighting the kids this month? What are you specifically doing to making sure that the kids are feeling included?
So thanks for that question, Tina. So 3 years ago, during the height of the pandemic, we were scratching our heads at the Caregivers Guardian, figuring out what can we do, because we noticed that there was a lot of attention on the professional caregivers, and there needed to be. But we saw so little energy, so little attention being placed on the family caregiver, which absolutely is the foundation of our healthcare system. And we felt like they were being ignored. And so we launched a campaign called 10-10-30, 10 random acts of kindness, 10,000 books to caregivers in 30 days. And we did that in the month of November, because November is National Family Caregivers Month. And so 3 years ago, we did that, and it was extremely well received. And then last year, when we did it the second time, there was a bit of fatigue going on. There was a bit of giving fatigue, and everybody was really kind of exhausted. And so we weren't sure if we were going to do it this year. And I'm so thrilled that Colorado Respite Coalition said yes to supporting us this year. And some of our other partners got on board and said, we're going to do this again. We want to acknowledge caregivers. But I also still had in my head the voice of that 10-year-old who said to me last year, what do you do for kids? And so this year we wanted to make sure that we actually had a focus and an emphasis on kids who are caregivers. So one of the things we're doing is we are identifying children who are caregiving. We're talking to and interviewing those kids. We're celebrating those kids. Today at one of the schools, we had a celebration for all of the kids that are caregivers within a specific division within the school. So we had about 15 kids that were celebrated for an hour. And what was really important was for the other children to recognize that this is a part of life and that this is cool to be able to support your family in this way, to support a loved one in this way is really a good thing. And so the kids themselves said, this is really cool. This is really cool. And we had a big old sheet cake. So all the kids got to participate. And the cake said, thank you for caring, right? And so it really is about planting the seeds. And then, of course, we've got amazing educators that understand the importance of this. And so they're partnering with us. The other thing that we are doing for kids this November is we're identifying one kid, and all the kids have a wish list. But there's one kid in particular, there will be one kid in particular who has a special needs because of their unique circumstances. And we are looking to support and help to fulfill some of the wishes that a particular child will have. We're providing gift cards to the kids. And like I said, we're celebrating cakes, balloons, bubbles. We're making kids feel like kids for a while. And we are simply celebrating them. And I'm also excited to be going up to the mountains to actually meet with the siblings who are caregivers and to get a chance to allow their voices to be heard and to hear what they have to say.
Yeah. That is so important too. If you have one child that has needs all of your attention for whatever reason, you got to remember that the other child is feeling that. And as much as you know that they understand, they're still a child. They still need the attention, and you need to make sure that you're making that special time. So, Nadine, tell people around the country what they could do for the kid caregiver in their life to celebrate them specifically.
So first of all, we say identify. Think about it. Scratch your head for a minute and think about the child that you know who is helping and supporting their grandmother or their grandfather, who show up on the weekend so that they can be there. And you watch them. You watch them at church. You watch them in the grocery store. Think about who that child is. And we're asking you to do a random act of kindness for that child. Do something to make them feel special, to let them know that you see them and that you appreciate what they are doing. And based on who the child is, the age of the child is, sometimes the acknowledgement is more than enough. But it's so nice to be able to give that child something special that's not expensive, but just something that acknowledges them. I had one kid when I asked, what could we do for him? He said, Cold Stone ice cream, baby. Just that simple, right? He wanted ice cream, right? And so you better believe he got a gift card to Cold Stone ice cream for a few trips, right? And so, meet the child where they are in terms of their needs. Sometimes it's recognizing, and we have one 16-year-old in particular who's been caregiving for her grandmother since she was 12, and she's 16 now, and she simply asked for help. She says, I need help. I don't want to be celebrated. I just want support so that I can enjoy my junior year of high school. I'm an AB student, mostly B's, but I want to go to college, and I need help so that I can be a kid. And so we're definitely working on that, right? Again, we're meeting the kids where they are, but it's important to ask kids, what is it that they need? Another thing that we're looking to do is I'm answering the call of the 10-year-old from last year. We're going to be starting a support group for kids so that they can call in, they can participate via Zoom, and they can be heard. And, we've got a lot of things that we need to do as far as our kids are concerned. And we look forward to having the data to support that information, to support that need, and to be able to have the resources that we need to be able to support our kids in the manner in which they need to be supported. So no matter where you are, ask the question, what resources are available in our city, in our state for kids who are caregivers? And don't be shocked if you don't find anything, because again, this has been an invisible, they've been invisible. They have been a valuable but invisible resource. And we are committed to changing that.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the parents that both parents have to work or whatever. They're taking care of their siblings, even though they may not be sick or anything, they're still taking care of them. So recognize them, celebrate them. Erin, do you have anything to add to that?
Gosh, no, just that, yeah, it's they are can be so candid, and I think that's, yeah, getting that out, giving them a space to be candid and to share their thoughts and feelings, and know that they're not gonna be shamed or guilted, or it's the same thing we tell adult caregivers. And I think that we can apply a lot of the same principles to kids, because they're already taking on these responsibilities, so they can have these conversations too. So it's great.
Absolutely. Let me add, Tina, that the American Association of Caregiving Youth has been the most valuable resource to us here in Colorado, because they've already laid the groundwork. They are the only national association dedicated to youth caregivers. And so, no matter where you are, and no matter where you find, and I know Rhode Island is ahead of the game. Rhode Island partnered with the American Association of Caregiving Youth to get that survey done. And so, as well as other researchers, but that is an excellent resource. If you don't know where to start, if you have questions, that is where you want to start. AACY, CY.org.
All right, and what's the can you give that web address again just so we can catch it?
So that's the American Association of Caregiving Youth, and it is AACY.org.
It's a great place to start. And like I said, we just need to identify and we need to realize. I always say you're going to get the best raw truth answer that you've ever wanted if you ask a child, because they have no filter and they're going to just give it to you as it is. So, you know what? Sometimes if I really want to know the answer to something, I'll ask a child, because I know I will get the answer I probably don't want, but I know I'm going to get the answer that I need to have. So that is the best way to go there. So Nadine, tell everybody how they can be a part of Caregivers Month, in a whole, how they can participate and how they can show up.
Absolutely. So the random act of kindness is the easiest way for anybody to be a part of the campaign. Identify the caregiver, and I say identify the adult caregiver and identify the youth caregiver in your world, and do a random act of kindness for them. And again, based on what you're able to do, sometimes instead of sending somebody a text, just picking up the phone and saying, "Hello, how are you? How are you doing today?" Right? It can make the world a world of difference, because it's a different kind of connection that caregivers don't often get, because unfortunately everybody's busy doing their own thing, and they're not thinking about the person who's stuck at home and has the responsibility of caring for someone. They're not thinking about that. So picking up the phone, that won't cost you a cent. But anything thoughtful. I've delivered flowers. I've delivered gifts. Everywhere I go, I have gifts. I go to, I love a bargain. And when I find bargains and I see something that reminds me of a caregiver, I get it, so that my gift bag stay filled with goodies, and I've got something to give, just to put a smile on somebody's face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Making a meal for someone who, there, especially if they're a sandwich generation, caring for a loved one, and they're taking care of kids too. And man, to show up with a casserole or a pot of meatballs and spaghetti, that makes their week, not just their day. It makes their entire week, because
Yeah.
for one evening, they don't have to worry about cooking. They don't have to worry about what am I gonna fix
Yeah.
for the day, right?
And I'm going to take that one step further. Pick up the
Mhm.
ingredients and go make it at their house. Nothing smells better than when you're cooking meatballs or something good and yummy and that whole house smells like it, and you're having that conversation while you're chopping vegetables and while you're making that meal. Show up at their house and make the meal with them. You're making it anyway and you're spending that time. Spend it with that person. And I'll tell you, my second thing I will add to that is people sometimes don't know what they want or what they need. But I'll tell you this, if you want to show up at my house and vacuum my house, I'm not going to say no. If you want
Mhm.
to go and fold my laundry or I'm not going to say no. You know what I mean? So just show up.
Mhm.
Because there is always something to be done. I'm not going to tell you you can't wash my kitchen floor, you know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean? There's certain things that we don't even know what we need half the time. So don't say, call us if you need something, because you're never going to get that call because we don't even know what we need most of the time. But showing
Absolutely.
up, being there, just being present, letting somebody you know that you're there for 5 minutes and doing anything. Bringing my mail in would be a huge help for me. Then I don't have to go out in the cold weather and bundle up to go to my mailbox. So there's so many little things that cost you nothing that
Mhm.
you could be there for somebody else. And I'll tell you, it makes all the difference in the world for somebody when you show up and just do, where they did not have to call you to ask, because
Absolutely. Absolutely.
everybody has that problem asking. Erin, do
Mhm.
you have anything to add to that?
No, just I agree. And yeah, it reminds me of the saying like check on your strong friends. Caregivers need care too. And yeah, don't I would definitely encourage anyone with a caregiver in their lives or a caregiver themselves that, don't wait until you need the help, or don't wait until there are signs that they need help. Care for them and help any way you can. So yeah, all of your suggestions were great. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah,
If they're a caregiver, they need help.
yes,
There is no waiting. They need help.
yes,
Just show up.
Absolutely.
Nadine, give us some more of your wisdom. I love listening to all of your wisdom. So give us some more of your caregiving wisdom.
Okay, so and just to complete answering the question that you asked earlier in reference to what can you do to get involved with the 10-10-30 campaign, in the chat I put the website for the 10-10-30 campaign, and click on that site, and you can make a donation. You can actually select a number of different things that you might be interested in doing specifically to support National Family Caregivers Month, and specifically to support the caregivers in your organization, within your church, within your community. We use the 10,000 books because we provide the informational books and inspirational books to caregivers, because we think that knowledge is power. The information and the resources are essential. And so back to the wisdom question that you asked about. I'm going to say that the most important thing that I teach as a caregiver and that I have learned as a caregiver is that caregiving has happened to change who I am. The entire caregiving experience is happening to change who I am. It is a transformative process, and the more you resist it, the more difficult it is. The more you are open to changing and to the higher version of yourself, the more ease and grace you find in the caregiving journey. And so that's my piece of wisdom that I'm gonna share with you, Tina. I don't know if I've dropped that one on you before, but that is one that I believe is the most important. That's the most important thing for caregivers to understand.
Yeah.
Caregiving is not happening to you; it is happening for you. Happening for you to change and evolve into your highest and best self.
Well, I'm going to ask you to repeat the story you told last night about changing your perspective, change your journey.
Oh my God, my goodness, absolutely. So because I do this work, and I've done this work for 13 years now, I get the full spectrum of ideas and attitudes. And I can tell you that if you are willing to change and shift your perspective about your caregiving responsibility and your caregiving journey, you will change the experience. So If you believe that there are no resources out there and you can't find good help, then I guarantee you there will be no resources and you will not find good help, because what you ask for, the universe will deliver. So if you're going to ask for it, change your attitude, change your perspective to a positive perspective, even on the toughest days. Because on the toughest days, you can still get by. You can still get through that day by focusing on the good that has happened. There is good that has happened. If there is no good that has happened, then you know for sure you have a perspective issue, and you need to do the work to shift that perspective. And how do you do that? Number one, you make the decision. You got to recognize it. If you're a negative Nelly, you got to recognize yourself as a negative Nelly. And you got to decide, I don't like that. That's not serving me. Let me see what I can do to change. What can I focus on? Focus on the good. There is always good that is happening. Take a deep breath. Everybody, inhale and exhale. As long as you can do that, you can change. You can shift perspective, and you can change the outlook and the outcome that you're experiencing.
Absolutely, because with everything that has happened to me, I could have rolled in a ball and cried about it and done nothing, or I changed my perspective and said, "Look, I'm like this. This is the way my life is going to be. I can only make it better, and if I can make it better for me, I can make it better for others." So, by changing my perspective and opening my mind to other people, I've met amazing people. I've had an amazing journey, and I'm living a fuller, more interesting life, being a wheelchair user, which, a lot of people, what I mean, don't say that. They think disability is such a negative thing, but I'll tell you, I have done more since being in my wheelchair than I ever did when I was walking. I learned a new way to live. I learned new people in my life, and I learned a whole new perspective that's changing the world. So again, change your perspective. Erin, as we're nearing the end of this hour, I want you to give in a 1 to 2 minute summary to tell everybody why they should get involved and what they can do.
Great. And I just wrote down enhance your life, because that's what everything you were just saying inspired me to think. And I just think it's amazing. So, okay. So Colorado Respite Coalition. We are part of Easter Seals Colorado. So I will go ahead and give them a plug, and the Colorado Gives Day is coming up. So, supporting Easter Seals supports us, but also, we have a newsletter, and really just spreading the word about us to anyone in your life helps our cause. Because as you both were just saying, I could sit and listen to you talk about caregiving forever. It's so great that, accepting that these resources exist. And then, when you find out about them, accepting that they wouldn't exist if we didn't know people needed them. So, these resources exist. And if you are a caregiver, they are for you. And, knowing in your life when something may help, maybe like journaling will help, maybe meeting with a support group will help. Maybe some, money to get respite care would help. Maybe, learning about different tools or resources, or getting paid for what I do, maybe that will help. So, just knowing that we exist and spreading the word about us is the best way to help caregivers. So that's what we want to do.
That's great. And I'm just going to add to what you just said. If you never ask, the answer is always no. But if you ask, you have a 50-50 shot. So you're better off asking than never asking. So you know what? Throw 50 things against the wall and pray one thing sticks. If not, throw another 50 things against the wall. Something's going to stick at some point. Nadine, give us your wrap up of why this is so important and why everybody should get involved.
So I just want to acknowledge, and I may not have ever said this to Erin before, but Easter Seals was such an incredible resource to me during my caregiving journey, caring for my mom who had suffered a stroke. Easter Seals had a stroke awareness program and a day program, adult day program for stroke survivors. And that was an integral part of my life for a couple of years. And so I just want to emphasize that there are resources, just what you just said, Tina. There are resources out there. And yes, Sometimes you gotta wait on hold. Sometimes you have to go onto a waiting list. It's okay. Do it. Do it because you never know when the day is going to come that that service that you need most is going to be available to you. And so we at the Caregivers Guardian, we are all about supporting the family caregiver wherever you are in the country, helping to make sure you identify the resources that help you not just survive the journey, but thrive through the journey. So happy National Family Caregivers Month. It's for everybody. Look around, acknowledge the caregiver in your world, do something nice for them, do something special for them. And our hope is that if you do it in November, you're gonna feel so good that you're gonna wanna do it in December, you're gonna do it in January, and so on. And before you know it, we're back at National Family Caregivers Month again.
That's awesome. Erin, give everybody the way that they can contact you, your website or email or phone, whatever you want to give out.
Sure, I'll do it all. ColoradoRespiteCoalition.org. You can reach me at emyrant at eastersealscolorado.org. That's E like Erin Myrant, my last name. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Perfect. And Nadine, I know you got a slew, so give us your websites and contact information, my dear.
Absolutely. It is the Caregivers Guardian, and that is tcgcares.com. The phone number is 303-394-1963. And any of the information regarding the 10-10-30 campaign, if you just go to tcgcares.com/10-10-30-campaign, that'll take you directly to that site. And you'll learn all of the ideas, suggestions, and opportunities that are available to support the family caregiver in your world.
And those will be, not only are they tagged above this podcast, but they're also in the comments of this podcast as well. If you forgot all of that, you all know me. So just message me, because these are just not my colleagues. These are also my friends. So if you want to get in touch with either Erin or Nadine, please contact me and I can make sure that I get you in contact with these amazing women that are making a difference. And they're not only making a difference in Colorado, they're making a difference across the country, because like I said, we have never met in person. We have only spoken online. But I'll tell you, Nadine is probably one of my nearest and dearest friends, and checks in on me constantly from across the country. So it is amazing. And I am so blessed to know both of you. So thank you so much for being with us tonight. Did we miss anything?
Yes, I just want to say, Tina, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your heart, for your energy, your commitment, your positive attitude, and your fierce resilience with no matter what it is that comes your way. You are just the example, an example for every single one of us. And I love and appreciate you for all that you do.
Oh, thank you. We have one life to live, and I am going to live every single second of it. I can rest when I'm dead, as I say. I am not going to miss a moment of my life in the meantime. So thank you both so much for joining us. Like I said, everybody get involved, make a random act of kindness, recognize the caregivers of all ages in your life, and make sure you're celebrating them, not just in November, but every year through, because caregiver doesn't stop. It's 24/7. And they need our support. Don't wait for them to ask, just show up, as I always say. So thank you, ladies, so much for joining me tonight. I am sure I will be talking to you all very, very soon. But I would like to invite the rest of my guests back next Wednesday night, because we have another fabulous show ahead of us. We will be talking to Help Hope Live. They are a national nonprofit that helps you raise money for your medical needs or medical necessities or your respite care or anything else that you could possibly need. So it ties right into what we're doing tonight. So tune in next week to learn all about Hope, Help, Love, the national campaign. And as I always say, don't just sit there, everybody. Make a difference. Have a great week.